The moment was so strange, so unexpected, that every person on the street froze as if time itself had paused. A line of 6 massive K9 German shepherds, trained, disciplined, and feared for their precision, suddenly broke formation and encircled a tiny girl in a bright pink coat. People gasped. Cars slowed. Even the officers handling the dogs exchanged worried looks. It seemed like danger or disaster. But nobody knew that within seconds, a single gesture from that little girl would change everything, revealing a truth more powerful than fear, more powerful than training, and more powerful than the weight of the past carried by those 6 dogs. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional, and inspiring stories to life. The city was unusually calm that morning. A pale winter sun filtered through the empty branches, throwing lines of light across the sidewalks. People moved slowly, bundled in coats, their breaths forming clouds in the cold air. Yet despite the peaceful scene, a small storm was brewing inside a young girl named Emily Hart. At just 7 years old, Emily's world had been shattered twice, once when her father, a police officer, died in the line of duty, and again when her mother sank into quiet grief that left Emily navigating most days alone. Her father had been her hero, her anchor, the one who carried her on his shoulders and taught her that bravery wasn't about being fearless, but choosing to love, even when it hurts. After his passing, Emily walked the same streets he used to patrol, hoping to feel close to him. Some mornings she clutched his old police badge, worn at the edges, as if holding onto the last piece of him. But what she didn't know was that today, something would happen that would forever shift the weight of her grief, something involving the very creatures her father often talked about with pride, trained K9 dogs. The police K9 unit had been deployed for a routine street training exercise. 6 German shepherds, large, muscular, and impeccably trained, walked in perfect formation beside 2 officers. Their steps were synchronized, their posture alert, and their eyes scanning every detail of the environment. They were the kind of dogs that made even grown men step aside. Emily had seen them before from afar, but today, she felt something pulling her closer. Maybe it was the memory of how her father used to describe the K9 dogs as the bravest hearts in fur. Maybe it was loneliness. Or maybe it was fate. She stepped off the sidewalk without thinking, her small boots clicking against the pavement as she approached the pack. The officers didn't notice her at first, they were discussing training patterns. But the dogs noticed. They always did. 6 heads turned at the exact same moment, 6 pairs of dark eyes locked onto the small figure walking toward them. Their ears perked. Their bodies tensed. And in a split second, as if responding to some silent signal, they broke formation. People on the street screamed. A woman dropped her coffee. Someone shouted for the officers. The officers spun around, fear flashing across their faces. It was rare, almost unheard of, for a trained K9 formation to break without command. But by that time, the dogs had already surrounded her. Emily stood in the center of a tight circle of powerful K9s, each one towering over her. Their chests rose and fell. Their paws scraped the pavement. Their collars clinked with every breath. The officers took a step forward, ready to intervene, ready to correct what looked like a dangerous mistake. But then it happened. Emily lifted her small hand, just one tiny gesture, and placed it gently on the head of the closest dog. The street went silent. The dog didn't snap. It didn't pull away. It lowered its head. And then, it leaned into her touch. The officers froze. The crowd stared in disbelief. Emily moved her hand from one dog to the next, her motions gentle and unafraid. Every dog, one after another, responded the same way, melting under her touch as if she were someone they had known their entire lives. One officer whispered under his breath, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. These dogs were trained for discipline, protection, focus. They didn't break formation for anything, not noise, not strangers, not even other officers. But here they were, drawn to a 7-year-old like she was their keeper. Emily eventually crouched down, her pink coat brushing against the sidewalk, and one of the dogs, one with a darker coat and amber eyes, laid its head in her lap. The officer closest to her approached slowly. What Emily did next stunned him even further. She began speaking softly, almost in a whisper, as she stroked the dog's fur. She told him about her father, how he used to admire the K-9 unit, how he said they were the purest souls in the department. She told him how she missed him. How the world felt different now without him. The dogs didn't move. They didn't blink. They listened. The officer felt his chest tighten. He recognized the badge necklace hanging around her neck. He knew whose daughter she was. He had attended the funeral. He remembered her father, brave, loyal, respected by every officer and every K-9 dog in the unit. One of the dogs standing near Emily belonged to her father's old partner, the K-9 unit he used to help train during his shifts. Maybe the dogs felt that. Maybe they understood. Or maybe, just maybe, grief speaks a language that even animals can hear. The officer knelt down and gently asked Emily if she wanted to walk with the dogs. She nodded, her face softening for the first time in months. So there they were, a tiny girl in a pink coat, surrounded by 6 enormous K-9 dogs who walked with her as if she were their new commander. People stopped to stare. Drivers rolled down their windows. Some even took pictures, believing they had just witnessed something magical, something unexplainable, something beautiful. As the group walked down the block, Emily felt warmth spreading through her chest, not the warmth of the winter sun, but something deeper. The dogs weren't just protecting her. They were accepting her. Guiding her. Comforting her in a way nobody else had been able to since her father's passing. The officers kept their distance, amazed by the gentle bond forming right before their eyes. Emily seemed lighter, as if the dogs were carrying the weight she had been struggling to hold alone. Over the next several minutes, something extraordinary happened. The most stoic dog in the group, the one known for being the hardest to emotionally reach, kept nudging Emily's coat pocket with his nose. When she finally reached inside, she pulled out her father's worn police badge. The dog stared at it. Then it sat down beside her. Almost as if saluting. Tears welled in the officer's eyes. They couldn't believe it. The dog had recognized the badge, recognized the scent of the men who used to train him, who used to pat him on the head after long shifts, who used to whisper, "Good boy," after successful missions. For that dog, this wasn't just a little girl. This was a piece of someone he had loved and lost. Emily hugged the dog's neck, burying her face in his fur. For the first time since her father's death, she wasn't crying out of sadness. She was crying because she felt safe. Supported. Seen. The officers gently asked Emily if she would like to visit the K-9 training center sometime, maybe help with the dogs. They didn't expect her to say yes. But she did. She nodded with a shy smile, then wiped her cheeks and whispered that she wanted to help animals just like her father did. What nobody expected was how that single moment would change not just her life, but the future of the K-9 unit as well. Over the following months, Emily visited regularly. The dogs recognized her immediately, their tails wagging the moment she stepped in. She learned how to groom them, how to feed them, how to walk them. She talked to them about her days. She even sat beside them when she did her homework. Her mother noticed the change too. Emily was smiling again. Eating again. Laughing again. The dogs weren't just companions, they were healers. But the most touching moment came one spring afternoon. The same group of 6 dogs formed a line in front of her, and the dog with amber eyes trotted forward carrying something in his mouth, a small ribbon with a silver tag. The officers explained that the K-9 unit had created a special title for her, Honorary Junior Handler, awarded only to those who showed extraordinary compassion and courage. Emily held the silver tag in her hands, her eyes shining with tears. The dogs barked softly, almost as if cheering. One officer whispered that her father would be proud. And for the first time, Emily truly believed it. If this story has touched your heart, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share it with someone who loves inspiring moments like this. Your support helps us continue telling emotional and life-changing stories.